Hi, my name's David Burtka.
My name's Neil Patrick Harris.
And you are listening to
Beyond the Plate
with Kathy.
Hey everyone, this is Cappy, and you're listening to Just the Plate, a production of Beyond the Plate. Just the Plate is a short segment where chefs describe a recipe or a dish that is meaningful to them. Now, being that we usually have a chef-driven season of this podcast, this is a little easier to accomplish because the chef shares a recipe that they make for their family or for their kids, or it could be one in a cookbook or on their menu in the restaurant. But being this is a celebrity season, it's kind of a special case here. Some of these guests still do have books, some are involved in restaurants, and many of them still do cook at home. So you're just going to have to wait to find out to see what they come up with. But there are some really special recipes that you'll be hearing throughout this season. I've actually cooked most of our dishes from our Just the Plate episodes, and we've been receiving messages from people who have also made them at home. For example, quite a few people have cooked Rachel Ray's carbonara pasta. If you missed that, check out Season 1, Episode 2. Another one, Chef Tim Love from Season 2. He cooked a fresh pasta primavera dish with vegetables from his garden at home in Texas, and he actually shared the recipe that he had just made the night before for his kids and his wife, his whole family. Anyhow, last week in Episode 1, we heard from Neil Patrick Harris and his husband, Chef David Burtka. So for this week, David's actually taken the mic. David's a chef, as I just said. He's actually an award-winning actor turned Le Cordon Bleu trained chef. He has a cookbook coming out very soon in April called Life is a Party. This book is going to showcase his expertise in entertaining, in preparing delicious recipes, and celebrating a variety of occasions with guests. And last week, we actually talked about what makes someone the life of a party, which was a fun question. Actually, it was a fun answer. His book has over 100 recipes. There's different creative party themes he shares. There's 250 photos, which I will tell you from experience is a lot of photos for a book. He has playlists. He has planning tips. Think of this as a guide for a home cook that likes to entertain. Anyhow, it's available for pre-order now, so go and check that out. And one more thing, sorry to get long here. David and Neil are the hosts of the Burger Bash at the 18th Annual Food Network and Cooking Channel South Beach Wine and Food Festival, which is held very soon. Friday, February 22nd is the Burger Bash. Tickets are on sale now for the festival and all of the events at sobewff.org. That's SOBEWFF.org. So in last week's episode, we talked about things like David and Neil's favorite spots to eat in New York currently. We talk about their twins and some of their eating habits and how those two choose to give back, meaning David and Neil and their twins actually, how they all choose to give back and more. So if you missed last week's episode with Neil Patrick Harris and David Burtka, please be sure to check that out. But for now, the task at hand, our Just the Plate episode. David chooses a recipe called chicken tot pie, not to be confused with chicken pot pie. His son actually came up with the title for this recipe, as you'll hear. He says it's a perfect wintertime dish, so we should all get on it. Like now, it's basically a chicken pot pie topped with tater tots, or as some would say, pretty genius. He gives some great tips along the way, including timing for the dish, which is always a question that I most often get from people in terms of cooking a big meal. It's pretty neat to hear and how he goes about making the dish. But if you're looking for the exact recipe, well, you'll just have to go online and pre-order that cookbook. All right, I'll stop talking. This is Just the Plate.
Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
Yeah.
You're en route somewhere?
I'm en route up to my house. Yes. I was just buying some Valentine's gifts for the children. And now I am just some little odds and ends for them to keep busy tomorrow morning at breakfast. And now I am uptown because I have people coming in from LA and I got to start dinner. I decided to call and feed duck this morning. That's one does.
That sounds so good, though. That sounds delicious.
I have this dish in my book called Chicken Tot Pie, and it's a take on chicken pot pie. But my son actually came up with the title because I make it not with a pastry crust. I make it with tater tots.
Oh.
And it's one of those sort of dishes in the winter that it's warm and cozy, and it's not difficult. You can throw it together on a weeknight, and the kids absolutely devour it. So it's a lot of fun, and my kids love it. And the fact that my son came up with the name Chicken Tot Pie is, even better. So, I get some chicken breasts with the bone on and the skin on, and I actually I submerge those in cold water, and I have that come up to a boil, and I sort of poach the chicken for 20 minutes, more or less, and I end up skimming all of the fat off of that, and as we go, because foam subsides, and you got to get all the fat because you're going to be using that sort of stock later in the dish. And so while that's happening, I've preheated the oven at that point, and there's a giant rarely right here by the they're chanting. Look at that. I'm in a car. I'm in a car headed home. So that's what's going on. So I actually take water and chicken stock, and I end up poaching the chicken in that with the skin, and about 2 pounds of the chicken, and about 4 cups of chicken stock. And then I take about 1 pound, or, about 4 cups or half a bag of the tater tots, and I actually crisp them up, but not fully crisp them up, because later when we put them on top, it'll get even more crispy, sort of like when you make French fries and you have to double fry them. It's sort of the same thing. So in the meantime, I end up taking those out, and those sort of cool. And as the chicken comes to about 20 minutes, I end up setting it aside, and then I shred that chicken with 2 forks, so it's nice and shredded, and I end up keeping the stock and the chicken flavor in that, and I bring that down to about 2 cups, about 2 cups for the stock. And then while that is happening, I've gotten my carrots and my shallots and my celery, and I've gotten that into bite-sized pieces, and I take a bunch of butter, and I saute the shallots and the carrots and the celery, so it's a nice al dente, not to the point of mushy, but you want to caramelize them, but you just want to get them soft. And so then after that, I add in the stock, and I add in some cream, and let that cook down, and then I add a bunch of thyme leaves, and I season with salt and pepper, and let that come down to sort of a gravy, the consistency of chicken pot pie and how that is. And so I add some salt and pepper, and I also add some hot sauce for a little heat at the end of the dish. And then I transfer that from the pan into a 9x12 baking dish. And then on top, I put the tater tots within a line, just, touching in rows. And then I cook that for about 20 to 25 minutes, or until the chicken pot pie consistency is bubbling over, and it's all nice, and the tater tots are nice and crispy, but the inside of the chicken and the carrots and the celery is all nice and mushy and gooey and warm. In that I forgot the peas. When I transfer the stock, when I transfer the chicken mixture into the pan, I add frozen peas, because you don't ever want to put the frozen peas in while you're cooking, because they tend to get, if you're cooking it again in the oven, they're going to get brown. So you add those frozen in with the chicken mixture, with the chicken and the carrots and the celery, and then you let that go for 25 minutes, and then you take it out and you let it stand for about 5 minutes before eating, and there, boom, there's dinner Tuesday night. Look at that.
Coming to my kitchen soon. How's that?
Was that clear?
Yeah.
Was that clear?
No, I love it. And by the way,
okay.
People have to go out and buy your book to get that and more of the recipes, because if there's more like that, I'm game.
Oh, nice. Good.
So I have a couple of questions, only because literally as we were talking, someone had commented on yours and Neil's episode and said, this is random. I listened to episode 1 and it's so far my favorite season. I like the personal touches. The kids mention the talk about how they got their kids eating sophisticated food, what they grew up eating. I like the personal life chit chat. So I have two questions. One, you mentioned hot sauce. Do your kids like spice, or is it more just a little zip of flavor for this dish?
It's a real, the hot sauce in the dish is just a little at the back end.
Okay.
It's really for more of a depth of flavor. They're not really big spicy people, although they do like wasabi with sushi, like big fatty tuna.
Yeah.
They love putting wasabi on it. And they tend to like the wasabi as opposed to like a hot sauce or a salsa or a jalapeno. We tend to do, if we're making guacamole, we do really light jalapeno, or we take the seeds out, but they're not there yet. I think that was one of the mistakes, that I didn't start introducing spicy foods to them as a kid. Because I know that, Latin America and Thai flavors, and Indian, they all have really spicy food. And I know kids who eat that kind of culture of food, they're used to spice. And it's just what you can get your kids acclimated towards at a young age.
Yeah, it's interesting because I love spice, but wasabi for some reason like nails me. I mean, I could take it, but it like really nails me more so than certain hot sauces. So that's interesting. But I know from...
Yeah, they're not putting it on a lean fish like a salmon or something. Yeah. It has to be a really fatty...
It cuts it a little.
Fatty fish to sort of cut the heat. But they're adventurous. I mean, my son especially, it's like he takes the wasabi challenge. He just actually wrote a short story in school about the first time he put a giant glob of wasabi on his sushi.
Wait.
That's what he's writing about. I couldn't be more proud.
My second and last question, do your kids help you with this dish in the kitchen? Because when you were mentioning topping with tater tots, I envisioned them on a stool, like helping place the tater tots. Do they help with this dish or not necessarily?
Yes. They, especially Gideon, he's sort of, taken this dish to be his. In fact, we did a school recipe book for his teachers last year, and we were supposed to give a recipe and take pictures of us making the dish for the teachers. And, he loves not only stirring in the chicken or shredding the chicken, but, sauteing the vegetables and pouring in the cream. And then he really gets a kick out of, making the perfect lines of tater tots onto the baking dish.
I love it.
So he's really taking it on to be his dish. And I mean, it's one of my lowbrow recipes in the book. I have a lot of more sophisticated stuff, but as a family, I think we could all relate to chicken pot pie, and a lot of us grew up on tater tots. So, tater tots was a staple in my food in the Midwest, in my kitchen in the Midwest. It's a nice combination. It's a nice way to bring the two together.
I love it. I was actually just I was talking to Rachel about a recipe we're doing in Austin soon, and it's a breakfast taco, and we're putting tater tots on top of the breakfast taco. So on the right track.
I love it. My dad does these books for me every Christmas with recipes and pictures of us growing up. And one year was dedicated just to tater tots. So there were tater tot nachos. There were tater tot in everything, on hamburgers, tater tot. It was tater tot scramble, tater tot casseroles. It was a big thing.
See, I was going to let you go because I know you're on your way home and you have a lot to do, including more entertaining tonight. So
yes, I'm entertaining tonight. Of course, I have friends coming over. Neil's going to see a Broadway show, and I have some friends from Los Angeles over, and I decided to make duck confit, curing the duck, and now I've got to go put it in the oven so I can add 8 cups of duck fat onto 16 duck legs, and your average to Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, now I'm starving. It's time for me to head to lunch. But David, again, thank you for the time. I appreciate this. This recipe really does sound delicious, and I'm really going to make it because I know my wife will be a fan.
Oh, well, great. Yeah. Get it in the book. And it's one of the 100 and some recipes that you can make as well.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
Hey, my pleasure. All the best.
All right. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Find more on David Burtka by Googling David Burtka. No, I'm kidding. On Instagram at DBelicious, DBELICIOUS, and on Twitter at David Burtka. This episode was produced by myself along with Ian Cohen and Joe Yeaton. Find me and keep up to date with this podcast across all social media platforms at On Cappy's Plate or go to beyondtheplatepodcast.com. Beyond the Plate is on Twitter at BT Plate Podcast and Facebook. Please rate, review, and or subscribe to this podcast on your listening site of choice. Thank you for listening to Just the Plate, a production of Beyond the Plate. I'm Cappy.